Welcome back, guys. Mike here. Right now, we're talking about the NFC North, another draft grades video. If you've missed any of the other ones, obviously go check those out. But right now, we're going to talk about the NFC North. For those of you just checking this out for the first time, what we're doing is we're going through division by division, one division per video. From that, we're grading every single pick for every single team, then giving an aggregate grade based off of that. How we come up with the pick grades is we see where they were ranked on my board, where they got picked, do they fit in need, and if I didn't scout them, they're given a grade of a C, unless there are any other considerations needed. All that being said, let's get right into it. We're going to start with the Chicago Bears. At number 2, they traded up from number 3, gave up too many picks, and picked Mitch Trubisky. All right. I'm going to spend a little bit more time explaining the grade for this one. I gave it a C-, but I gave the player pick a B+. I gave it a C- because they gave up too many picks to move up one spot to get a guy that I don't think San Francisco was going to pick anyways. And I don't think San Francisco was fielding any trade offers to get that pick. I think John Lynch actually just fleeced the Bears. The player I like, he was 19th on my board. I understand that you need a quarterback in this league to win. I'm okay with that. I have no issue with picking the player. I have an issue with why you got him at 2. So I gave it a C-. And then Chicago came back in round 2 and really dropped the ball. They really dropped the ball. They needed to hit a home run pick to make up for giving up those picks. For Trubisky, they really needed to knock the rest of their draft out of the park to make up for those lost picks. And they picked Adam Shaheen at 45. I had him graded at 121. I thought it was a very raw player. Small school guy, was heavy. Not a full-time football player either. He was 121 based off of if you could just get everything you needed out of what he already had and then just let him hone his skills, he would actually become a decent player in the NFL. At 45, though, hated it. I gave it an F. I hated this pick. I even thought I was too high on Shaheen by having him at 121. I probably, looking back on it now, as soon as that pick was announced, I went, when I looked at my board and I graded it, I went, why do I even have him at 121? This guy is really a mid to late day 3 guy, and I gave him a grade just outside, at the top of day 3, or middle of round 3, really. I didn't really like it. I didn't really like where I had him ranked. I thought I was too high on him. I thought the Bears were extremely too high on him. Gave him an F. Eddie Jackson at 112. I had him graded 70th. Listen, Adrian Amos is okay. The rest of their secondary is really bad. I thought that they desperately needed to address the corner position, and they didn't even do it. They addressed safety by getting Eddie Jackson, who's coming off an injury. I had him rated 70th. I gave him an A. I liked the pick, but they needed to address the secondary before this pick happened. Tariq Cohen out of North Carolina A&T, I believe is the school he came out of, a small school guy and a smaller built guy. I hadn't scouted him, gave him a C. And then Jordan Morgan out of Kutztown, which is in the Philadelphia area, so there was a good pop when he got picked. I hadn't scouted him either. I gave him a C. So they get C-, F, A, C, C, which gives Chicago an overall grade of a C-. They ballsed this up, man. They really fucked this up. Someone told Matt Miller after the draft that Ryan Pace got himself fired with this draft. I don't think that that's fair. I like the Trubisky pick, as far as getting the player. I hate the pick as far as what they gave up to get the player. Sorry, I got a pimple on my nose. Moving on, Minnesota. Minnesota aced this draft, man. I mean, they had a lot of picks. They kept trading back to get more picks. And let's get right into it. Their first pick at 41, they didn't have a first-round pick due to trading for Sam Bradford. They know, hey, if we don't have a first-round pick, we've got to hit this one out of the park. And they did. Dalvin Cook replaced Adrian Peterson. Off-field issues and whatnot, I don't really care. I feel like it's not a case of anything to do with him. It's more a case of who he associates himself with. No real issue with the pick. 11th rated player at 41, A. At 70, they got Pat Elflein, who I had graded at 57th overall. They needed help on the offensive line. That offensive line was really bad to protect Sam Bradford. Yeah, you know what? Whether he plays guard or center, I don't think it matters. He's an upgrade over what they've got at that position anyways. I gave it another A. So far, Minnesota's doing really well. Came back at 109 on day 3. Got Jaleel Johnson, the defensive tackle out of Iowa, who I had 53rd on my board. Gave it an A-. Sharif Floyd apparently is having some really bad surgery complications, and they're wondering if he'll ever play again. That's not good, considering they've already got the same questions about Teddy Bridgewater right now. So they get an immediate starter at 109, who had a second round value. I love the pick. I gave it an A-. Ben Gideon out of University of Iowa, they got him at 120. I had him rated at 176. There were better players available. Anthony Walker was still on the board. There were some other pretty decent linebackers still available. Just not a big fan of the pick. Jalen Reeves-Maben, I believe, was still available. Elijah Lee. There were good players still there. I don't understand it. So they ended up with that one getting a C. Just not too big on it. Rodney Adams out of South Florida, 170 overall. I graded him a 238. Really didn't like this pick either. Again, better receivers still on the board. If you guys have seen the other videos, I keep listing off the same names: Isaiah Ford, Fred Ross, Ahmed Atawo, Noah Brown. Like, these guys were all still there, and they got him. They passed on them to go get Rodney Adams. Don't like the pick. Give him a C-. Maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't. 180, they came back and got Danny Isadora, the guard out of Miami. He's not a great player, but he's certainly serviceable and an upgrade on what they've got, and I think in the right system, he can make it work. Excuse me. He was graded 211 on my board. That's a B+. Really like the value here. Really like the fact that he's a good fit. Upgrade on the offensive line. They're finding starters, really late in the draft, and that's how you end up competing in the NFL. I love it. Then at 201, they got Bucky Hodges out of Virginia Tech, who I had graded at 103. Listen, I thought that some of the talk about Bucky Hodges a couple months ago being like, second round pick, third round pick, I thought that was a little bit crazy. So I graded him at, early day 3. They got him really, really late, middle of the third day. 98 picks after where I had him slotted. Thought it was great value. Thought he was definitely going to be one of the first players off the board on day 3. So I like it. I gave it an A+. 219, they get Stacey Coley, who I think is a better receiver than Rodney Adams. He was 180th on my board. Gave it another A. 220, they had back-to-back picks. They go to Northwestern, so the guy doesn't even have to give up his colors. He stays in purple. Ifeadi Odenigbo, I hope I'm saying that correctly, out of Northwestern, an edge rusher. Listen, the more pass rushes you have, the better. And I had him graded at 164. That's another A. Elijah Lee at 232 out of Kansas State. I have no idea how he made it this far in the draft. I had him rated at 118th. So that's a massive, massive value there. Gave it an A. I like the pick again at 232 of him better than I like the pick 100 picks earlier with Ben Gideon. I think that they nailed it. And then Jack Tocho, the corner out of North Carolina State, who I hadn't watched, that gets an automatic C. So looking at Minnesota's draft, we get A, C, C-, B+, A+, C, which gives them an A- overall draft. They killed it. Spielman has a lot to be proud of with that class. Next is Detroit, and they had an up and down draft, but overall there were some needs that were filled, and in the end, let's see how they did. At 21, they got Jared Davis out of Florida. They passed up on Reuben Foster. That's the only reason this doesn't get anything higher than an A- for me. Davis was 27th on my board. Foster was still there, obviously, due to concerns about the shoulder and whatnot. But I can't really complain. I think that Davis was really about to go in that range anyways. And really once, Foster started falling in around the mid-first round, I kind of knew that teams that needed linebackers could pass on him. But I'm not too angry about it. Gave it an A-. I like the pick. Jared Davis is a really good player. At 53, they got Jalen Tabor, who I had rated at 82nd because I really felt like after the combine, when I went back and watched some of his tape after he ran really slow, you could see it on tape. He's not exactly all that athletic. He's more of an instinctive guy. Hope he fits well in the system. Little bit of a reach for me. There were better corners available. I think Awuzie was still available at this point. Yeah, Awuzie went 60th. They could have easily gone there. Not a big fan of this pick, but, things happen. Maybe a little bit of a reach. I ended up giving it a B. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Things I do hate, though, are when teams take, 7th round players in the 3rd round. Kenny Golladay out of Northern Illinois. What the fuck are you doing, Detroit? Why are you doing this? There are obviously better receivers still available. I've listed off all of the wide receivers I need to at this point. Josh Reynolds was still available. All of these other guys are still there. Why are you taking a guy that will be there at the end of day 3? I gave it an F. I fucking hated it. That F stands for fucking hate it. What the fuck? Jalen Reeves-Maybin at 124. He had a really bad knee injury early in the season that cost him his season. If he's healthy, he's a top 5 linebacker in this class. He was a top 10 linebacker in the class even with the injury. I graded him as my 80th overall player. I gave it an A- for getting him at 124. They get really, if he heals up properly, easy all day starting linebacker in round 3. Can't complain. Loved the pick. Gave it an A-. Hope that injury heals up well. Michael Roberts, the tight end out of Toledo, was the next pick at 127. Jordan Leggett was still available. Bucky Hodges was still available. Jake Butt was still available. Why? Why did this happen? Why are you reaching on guys? Detroit has had that issue. Let me just check out my board. Can't quite remember where Roberts fit as far as the rest of the tight ends. He was my 12th tight end behind names that were still available, like Leggett, Hodges, Hicatini, who went undrafted, Sprinkle, Daryl Daniels. So I really didn't like him overall as a prospect. Raw, kind of fat, I don't know, kind of like what I thought on Adam Shaheen, really. He was 182 on my board. 127 was where he got drafted. I gave it a C because, again, like I said, better options at the position. Then they got a guy named Jamal Agnew. Never heard of him. Gave him a C. Jeremiah Ledbetter out of Arkansas, defensive tackle. Better options available. Hadn't really scouted him. Hadn't finished him. Did 2 games instead of the 3. Gave him a C-. Then I loved this pick. They made up for the fact that there were some picks that I really hated. And they got Brad Kaya at 215 to back up Matt Stafford. Better than anything they've got on roster to back up Matt Stafford already. He was my 74th rated player. I definitely think that he has the tools to develop into a starter, so that's why he's graded so high. I gave it an A+. If I could give it more than an A+, I would. I really like the pick. I think that if Stafford gets hurt, they have someone that can immediately step in. There's a reason this guy was this time last year talked about as a potential first-round pick, top 10, top 5 pick even. He's got the tools. He needs developing, though. And then they finished it off with a guy I've never heard of, Pat O'Connor. Give him a C. Never heard of him. So they get A-, B, F, A-, C, C, C-, A+, C, which gives Detroit an overall grade of B-. I don't hate the draft, but I don't really like it that much either. Not too bad, though. And then Green Bay. Green Bay was kind of all up and down the board, which is unlike them. They're usually a team that likes to stay still in the draft. So let's get started. Top of the second round, they kicked off day 2. They got Kevin King at 33. He was ranked 33. There were some better corners, in my opinion, available that were more ready to play than him. But he was graded higher due to potential. And I gave it a B+. Listen, their corners were not really that good last year. They got exposed in the playoffs a lot. So you know what? Someone that can step in right away and make an impact. I don't hate the pick. I almost wanted to give it an A. came back 61, got Josh Jones out of North Carolina State. He was 85th on my board. The safeties were kind of flying off the board, though. I don't really hate the pick. Gave it a B+. Montravius Adams is next. They drafted him at 93. He was number 30 on my board. That's an A. Fits a need, everything. Almost gave it an A+, but I think that as far as the position, they've got some other guys there where he's not going to start right away. He's going to be a good rotation player in his rookie year. Top of day 3, they came out, got Vince Beagle out of Wisconsin. Some people liked him better than TJ Watt in the league. He was drafted 108. I rated him at 98, so that's a B+, really good value. Love the pick. Helps Clay Matthews kick out wide again. And you know what? I would have actually liked if they had gotten another pass rusher, to be honest with you, because Clay Matthews he's peaked. But yeah, getting some more inside linebacker help never hurts either. Jamal Williams at 134, my 56th rated player. Really surprised he fell this far. I give it an A-. I think that he immediately comes in as the starting running back. Sorry, Ty Montgomery. But, I really like it. D'Angelo Yancey at 175. I hadn't scouted him, but I looked at what guys like Matt Miller said and some other draft experts, and they hated the pick and said that this guy wouldn't even be a priority free agent. So I took that into account. I gave it an F. 3 teams in this division got an F grade. So 3 of the 4 teams had a pick that was so bad I couldn't help but give it an F. 182, Aaron Jones out of University of Texas El Paso, UTEP. I liked him. I started watching him a little bit after the combine. He was 245 on my board. It was just a really good running back class this year. They drafted him at 182. I gave it a C-. It made me wonder what exactly was going on because they wanted to move Montgomery to running back, and they said that they were going to, and then they drafted 2 running backs in very close succession that I think would push him back out to wide receiver. So I gave it a C-. Kofi Amichia, I hope I'm saying that right, out of USF, an offensive tackle. Hadn't scouted him, gave him a C. Devontae Mays, a small school running back, Utah State. Hadn't scouted him, but I gave it a D because, again, they already took 2 running backs. So I didn't like the plan there. And then Malachi Dupree at 247, I had him graded at 136. I gave this an A because, again, I think that their wide receivers needed an upgrade. If Ty Montgomery ends up going back to playing wide receiver, this actually may get lowered a little bit, maybe to a A- or a B+, but I think he's an upgrade over guys like Aberderis, Jeff Janis. There's some really bad receivers on Green Bay. Their receiving core is either old or just really inconsistent. So let's take a look at theirs. They get B+, B+, A, B+, A-, F, C-, C, D, A, which gives them a B- overall. That's going to do it for this video, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Leave your draft grades down below, and I'll see you again in a couple of hours.